Hey guys, Mike here. So, oh boy, what a day in the market. And as I told members, you better bring your vertigo medication and your big boy pants because it's going to get volatile up in here. And I got to admit, it was pretty quiet most of the day. But when old Jerome opened his mouth, oh my goodness, wait till you see these charts if you ain't seen them. I mean, as one person said, what a roller coaster. I said, buddy, that wasn't a roller coaster. That was a straight free fall. And just the manipulation was crazy, crazy manipulation. But as we talked about, what were we listening for from Jerome Powell? We knew they weren't going to cut rates, but what were we listening for? To see if they were going to decrease their bond roll-offs on the balance sheet. And guess what? We thought it was going to go from 60 billion to 30 billion per month. Now they decrease it from 60 billion to 25 billion. But on top of it, let me go ahead and add a little mustard and ketchup for you. What else they do? I'm sure him and Janet Yellen got together with some wine, maybe a little food, maybe a little music, and said, we need to go ahead and start intervening in the bond market, right? And so what they do together, here it is, Treasury statement. We talked about this one too to listen for it this morning. A buyback plan, a new buyback plan, which they've been hitting at. Key line, these operations will be aimed at supporting market liquidity and improving cash management. Look at the dates here. This is no coincidence. This will start on May 28th. Look at the amount of money, $2 billion. Okay, almost every week, not month, every week, 528, 64, 610, 618, you're seeing between 500 million and 2 billion, mostly 2 billion is what the max purchase is. Don't mean they got to do 2 billion, but again, then coincide that with what? This is no accident. That's why they had wine and dinner together. Look at this, starting in June. Okay, what's what they're going to do? We're going to end up cutting in half these bond roll-offs, okay, on their balance sheet. So what does the market do? You would think as whenever this whole sell-off ends or whatever, when we start moving back up, they're going to enjoy this because what does it do? It stabilizes the bond market some, takes pressure off of it, and will affect yields. Of course, that's the money printer, one of my favorite memes of all time. I think will always be one of my favorite memes of all time. But yes, that's what it will do. The market will react off the bond market, of course. So don't just look at this one-day move and stuff. But I mean, look at this right here. We were quiet, and then boom, he started speaking, pumpy, pumpy, pump, and then the market went, see you later, and gave all that stuff back right there. And of course, people were screaming, oh my goodness, please close the stock market. But again, I have to go back and do another revision on this because it was 15 minutes. Look at the last 10 minutes. We end up going down 0.6%. Remember yesterday in the last 10 minutes? 0.68%. So that's in the last 10 minutes. It gave it all back like it never happened. Just erase it from your mind. Again, that's not a roller coaster. That is a free fall. All right. But I love the manipulation. Boy, those algos know how to do it. Okay. Now, when we pull out, let's go ahead and look at this on larger time frames here. And you can see we were in that channel. We fell out of that channel. We closed below that channel. We're actually right at the weekly expected move now. I just, on this one right here, this was the one I took 15 minutes before the market closed. But again, you saw it on the other one. We're sitting there right at the weekly expected move out of that channel. So that trend line now becomes resistance. All it did was mitigate that huge daily fair value gap right there. Cut through like a hot knife through butter while he was speaking. But that's why it's called manipulation. If you hear people talk about manipulation, that's what you just saw. Okay, that's what this is. And usually manipulation ends up dropping off like a rock like it did. Okay, so it wasn't some kind of fundamental move or anything. And when we look at this again, we got our moving averages. I'm going to take the 200 away so you can see this. The 50 now is within this channel around the 51.29 mark, I believe it is right now. It's a moving average. It will move, of course. But when you look at it, there's that one, and then the 100 is below right there, as you can see. So we're kind of sandwiched between the 50 and the 100. But also looking at this, what we have not done, we did not set a lower low. We did not break that level right there yet that I can see. And so that's what you want to watch for is a bounce tomorrow. If we start going down and set a lower high and start setting lower lows, obviously we know where we're heading. So keep this in mind. Again, we're kind of looking out. Now, IWM actually ended up green for the day, believe it or not. It was way up there, almost 2%. I'm going to move this up to like that 200 area because that seems to be where we're rejecting that right now. But again, it sold off first. It was down the most. And so we'll have to see if it can break above that 100. That's where it also got rejected. But the 200 is definitely a key level. Hard for this to get through right now. If rates start to go down, this will benefit IWM more than it will SPY and QQQ, okay? Just keep that in mind. We'll have to watch and see what yields are going to do, especially this news of what they're doing. But looking out on a weekly time frame, a larger time frame, this is what you're looking for, right? Just watch the weekly stochastic for a bigger, longer move, okay? That's what you're looking at right here. You can see we had some nice moves there. Again, we're down there where we could continue to keep selling off, of course. That's what we got to watch. But watch for that to turn up, get over the 20 line, and start moving higher. Okay, that's when you'll get the bigger and longer moves. Now, what we're also seeing is these earnings, right, for the semiconductors. That was the only sector that was leading everything. It was beating everything, okay? And what we're seeing is you're getting AMD yesterday. You're getting SMCI reporting yesterday, okay? And what you're seeing, obviously, is the expectations are huge. And when you don't meet them, you're going to get punished. And so they're getting punished down. NVIDIA's getting drugged down with them. Again, NVIDIA so far is the only one when they report earnings are putting out these crazy earnings reports. Everybody's kind of been a one and done, and then they're kind of just in line, right? But the expectation is so big that if you don't hit it, right? And it looks like with AMD, maybe it's just me, but is it destined to hit that 200 moving average? I mean, it looks like it, right? I mean, that looks like a perfect head and shoulders up there playing out. And again, that area, shaded area, is where you've seen it act as support and resistance. And so, again, that would line it right around that 200 moving average as well. I think it's going to hit it, but, who knows? What the hell do I know? And so we'll see. Let me know what you think down in the comments. It just seems destined to do that. And you look at SMCI, I mean, look at this thing. That trend line right there, boy, it's just been a trip hammer, right? Every time it hits that trend line, it's been heading down right there. And, when you look at this right here, again, we're sitting in a support area, if you like to call it that, of course, which is where we're at, where we got to bounce from and stuff. We'll see if this area holds right there, because if it don't, there could be way, way more downside. Why could there be a lot more downside for this one? Because remember, this thing has ran up so big. And so you could see something like this. I think that's what a lot of people kind of predict right here. But again, when you look out here, you're talking about a 43% move down from the highs of this. Look at that move. That was an insane move. Why? Because this is a very low float stock. That's why it ran up unbelievably after reporting some crazy earnings call, like almost like an NVIDIA earnings, right? But now they hadn't been able to do that. And so now the market's like, we'll put you down here. Again, the 100 moving average saving it. The 200, you won't have to hit it. But I mean, when you're sitting 250% above your 200 and now you're 50% above your 200, that looks a little bit better, right? And so again, these are just getting punished and they're dragging NVIDIA down with them. And it's putting a lot more pressure on NVIDIA for these next earnings, okay? NVIDIA, just in the short term right now, what's it doing? It's just kind of moving up this channel, bouncing off this trend line now. We got 3 touches on that. Setting higher highs, higher lows, of course, you can see right here. Now, you looked, and when it moved up right here, it did not go higher than this. So it set a double top right here, right? So equal highs. And so those are either going to get taken out before we start heading back down that trend line again, or if we start breaking that trend line below us and setting what? A lower high and lower lows, then we know what's in the cards, okay? Again, I'm like doing a whole members video tomorrow on this to figure out where we're at in this. And when you're doing projections, like where we might go, that's all it is projections, right? You just got to see. So far, it's playing out pretty nice, though. Now, Tesla, obviously, huge move up we talked about, just enormous. Got to that 100, got rejected, and really it's the 200 level. The 200, those round number levels are brutal, okay? Obviously, got 3 days of pulling back. It was slightly green today after being red pretty much all day. So it's wedged between the 50 and the 100. And if you really look here and eyeball this, it did fill roughly 50% of that gap, which is what a lot of times what you see when you got an up gap like that. And so it did fill 50%, and you usually will get a bounce right there. It doesn't mean the bounce is going to hold. But again, if it starts to move back up, just all you got to do is mark the 200 level. The 200 level is going to be brutal. It's been resistance in the past. It's still resistance, as you see from that rejection. Again, the market has to absorb a huge move for a company who didn't solve the biggest issue they have, right? They just, again, got value more as a tech company by talking a lot about tech, okay? So the market has to do that. You have your profit takers. Now, a few stocks like Boeing, you can see this right here, still holding at that level, still holding this megaphone pattern as of now, no matter how many doors fly off their planes. I think one just flew off 2 days ago or something flew off. It continues to do that, okay? Those long-term trend lines do mean something, okay? And you can see on this one right here, when we go to the weekly, it's sitting in that area where, if this starts to curl up and get over the 20 and the momentum starts to swing, you can see this one moving. Obviously, it's a very damaged chart below all its moving average. It's just a damaged company in general. And so, but again, a lot of government backing. We'll see if this still holds. Now, you look at Shop. This one right here is bouncing off its 200 moving average. It's holding the 200 moving average, which is not a bad thing. It has earnings in a couple weeks right here, if I'm not mistaken. Again, looking out on the weekly on this one, it just can't get the momentum, right? And so if that stochastic starts to turn up, that's when you start to get those big moves. It could be waiting on earnings. That could be what's happening right here. Amazon had good earnings, right? But they have cloud, things of that nature, right? Shopify does not have that, okay? It is straight up e-commerce and stuff. So again, that MACD, we talked about that before. When it gets above the 0 line, that's when you start to see the bigger moves. And so it just not had that momentum. So it really still hadn't negated that head and shoulders right there, okay? So keep that in mind on Shop right there. And it's going to be a big move either way, but I think earnings are really what's going to dictate this one. Now, a couple of stocks that I normally don't talk about, but I'll get botted to death for this. As I put in the Discord, watch Coin. It will report tomorrow. We may not get here, but that area right there is probably going to make a really nice buy zone right there between 180, 200. And again, you can see you don't get many weekly stochastic RSI bullish crosses. You get maybe 3 a year. Okay, so if that does turn out to be, watch out, earnings could spoil all that and just turn it up early. We'll see. Mr. is kind of the same way, right? MSTR, between like 800 and 1,000. Same thing right here where you're looking at a bullish stochastic RSI cross. But all this will depend on Bitcoin, right? It's coming down this weekly fair value gap right now, coming back into the channel. Anywhere from 50 to 54,000, you can see, maybe not, right? But if that gets that bullish weekly stochastic RSI cross on the weekly, that's a good thing to see, all right? And then when it comes to earnings, you're going to have Apple, Coinbase, Block, DraftKings, Cloudflare, Bill.com, Fortinet, Amgen, Bookings.com, and Expedia. Whew, that's a mouthful. Reporting. And then as far as red folder, you have unemployment claims, pre-market, and no other news after that. And so again, no earnings in the morning should shift anything, but we'll see how Apple unfolds. Let me know what you think. It seems like the bad news is baked in, but what it doesn't have that Tesla had was that long-term trend line going back 5 years, was it? It doesn't have that. I've looked all over the chart trying to find it. It is, again, it was green today at one point in time. So it continues to hold up, and we'll see if Tim Cook follows Tesla and Elon and just talk about a robot dog or something. Like comes out with something besides AI for iPads and phones, okay? We'll see how it goes, but I don't know what other bad news we could really get because we know China's a mess, their sales are a mess. Look at Starbucks. Starbucks got crushed. I know it's a coffee company, but still, what's its biggest problem? China, right? What's been weighing on Tesla all this time? China. Like anything that's got a lot of exposure to China, it's rough, right? It is just rough, and so we'll see. We'll see what happens because their stocks are turning around because why? They're just beat down to death, right? They really got nowhere to go but up at this point in time. And so, but again, when you look at the earnings, when it comes to Tesla, when Chinese stocks, it's not like they're great, right? Even listen to what they're talking about with their consumers and everything. So, we'll see where the market goes. We'll see how it's going to digest and look at what the Fed put out with the Treasury, with their buybacks, with the Fed cutting down now, what they're going to roll off. And so the stock market is going to follow the bond market. So if you see yields start to come down, stock market's going to love it. If you see the yields hold and go to 5, which I think, I'm not sure that's what they want, that's definitely not a good thing. I can tell you that right now. So just keep all that in mind. So hope you got some out of it. Hit the like and subscribe button if you did. Appreciate all you guys who watch, who sign up for the memberships. Really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.